Stopping the practice of auctioning the very weapons used by killers to take someone's life. A Democrat and Republican in Kentucky now coming together to end that long-honored practice by Kentucky State Police of auctioning those guns. The money helps fund police departments. Our Connor Steffen reports on this bill just filed.
In the pain, it gets harder and harder.
For Nayshan Tribune,
I want my son back here with me.
loss has become the only constant in life since her 23-year-old son, Mikkel Coleman's death this past July.
They found him dead, gunshot wounds. Yeah, it was terrible.
The tragedy has propelled her into advocacy as she looks to prevent the very same gun violence that took her son.
We don't want this to recycle.
Two Louisville state lawmakers, one Democrat and one Republican, share her sentiment. The result is Senate Bill 178. Filed this week, it would require Kentucky State Police to destroy any guns used in violent crimes, instead of auctioning them off like they do now. This video from KSP shows some of the thousands of confiscated guns they're preparing to auction off to federally licensed firearm dealers next week. It's not clear how many, if any, were used to commit murder.
There's no way that should be auctioned off to no one else. That doesn't make any sense.
Under current Kentucky law, about 80% of the revenue generated from KSP auctions is allocated to local police departments like right here in St. Matthews. Officers called the funding crucial.
Because you're able to fund police departments to be able to buy equipment that's necessary for them to do their job.
St. Matthews Assistant Police Chief Eddie Jones says the department is a recent beneficiary of the program.
We were awarded $193,000.
Money they used to replace old tasers and handguns, make system upgrades, and launch new training programs.
What benefits the smaller departments in the state?
It remains unclear what impact the bill would have on this funding. Still, Jones points to what's at stake if smaller police departments lose a critical resource.
If they start removing those guns, it's going to hurt police departments out here trying to protect their communities.
I want this to be where these guns are not back out in the streets, killing someone else, and then destroying somebody else's family.
But for grieving families like Nayshan's, the only thing that matters is preventing more loss and heartbreak. In Louisville, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 1119, on your side.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg has pushed for destroying these guns. In a statement, he said no gun is more important than the life of the loved one, adding, "I thank my Louisville colleagues in the General Assembly for their leadership on ending this recycling of gun violence." A bill to change the way teens are prosecuted for certain crimes is moving forward. A Senate committee approved that proposal that would prosecute teens as adults if they're charged with felonies involving guns. It reverses a 2021 law that ended the automatic transfer from juvenile to adult court in certain cases. When explaining his bill, Senator Matthew Dendine from Elizabethtown said youth crime is on the rise and goes beyond Louisville and Lexington.
It is our responsibility, I believe, to draw a line in the sand and to say for these types of crimes, these adult crimes, that the punishment should be fitting of the crime.
That bill would allow for a teen's case to return to juvenile court if prosecutors choose to, but Republican Senator Whitney Westerfield argued an automatic transfer still takes away a judge's discretion. Westerfield helped pass that 2021 law.
You have robbed the prosecution and the court of weighing the factors that have been in statute since long before I got here. In fact, long before I was practicing law. The seriousness of the offense, whether it was against property or a person with greater weight being given to offenses against people, the maturity of the child as determined by their environment, their prior record.
That bill goes to the full Senate for consideration. The three men charged in one of Bardstown's biggest mysteries, the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, appeared in court together for the very first time in their jail attire. The biggest news to come from the hearing Thursday was a trial date exactly a year from now on February 10th. Prosecutors said they want to try Brooks Houck, Stephen Lawson, and his son Joseph Lawson all together. At least one defense attorney said he plans to file that objection. Shay McAllister was in the courtroom covering the hearing yesterday.
If the prosecutor has it his way, trial will begin 1 year from now, almost to the day. But so much of that depends on evidence. The prosecutor revealing today he has handed over more than a terabyte worth of evidence in this case, coming from the Kentucky State Police, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, and the FBI.
All rise.
One by one, the men accused of killing Crystal Rogers filed into the courtroom. Joseph Lawson was wheeled in first, followed by his father, Steve Lawson. And then in black and white stripes with cuffs on his wrists, Crystal's former boyfriend, Brooks Houck, took his seat. It was a surprise for all three men to be brought in together, but perhaps a sign of what's to come.
So you're going to be filing a motion to try all three cases together, as I take it, and then
the prosecutor indicating he hopes to try all three men together in one trial more than a year from now. Jason Ellis and Tommy Ballard mentioned as part of the case file that was initially handed over to the prosecutor, but still no arrests in either of those cases, something a friend of the Ballards thinks will soon change.
This is not the only three that's had something to do with it. I'd bet everywhere I got in my pocket that there's more out there that had something to do with this.
Back in the courtroom, attorneys for Joseph Lawson were fighting for a lower bond, saying their client isn't a danger to the public.
It's obvious that the court concedes that he is paraplegic. That's just a fact that exists.
But the Commonwealth fought back, pointing to his criminal history, alleged involvement in Crystal's death, and actions after he found out detectives were eyeing him.
Once he found out that he was a subject, a target of what happened to this young woman, he called around or texted around to associates, to friends of his, to cover for him, to give him an alibi that night of July the 3rd when she's missing.
The judge plans to rule on bond by the beginning of next week. And 20 minutes after it started, the defendants left the doors they came in, heading back to the jail cells, where they will wait for the next development in Bardstown's greatest mystery. Today was the first time that Joseph Lawson and Steve Lawson, father and son, saw each other for the first time. We're told no words were exchanged. The next court date in this case has been set for mid-March. In Nelson County, I'm Shay McAllister, WHAS 11 on your side.
And as you heard, part of that hearing focused on the bond for Joseph Lawson, currently set at $500,000. His attorneys want it lowered to $50,000. Stephen Lawson's bond sits at $250,000 after a judge lowered it last month, and the bond for Brooks Houck remains at $10 million. The judge previously denied a request for that to be reduced. We spoke to a defense attorney and former Jefferson County prosecutor Nick Mudd for some perspective on this. He says there is a benefit to trying all three defendants together.
You don't want to have witnesses get on the stand 3 different times. What happens? They may say possibly 3 different things, not intentionally, but things happen. But that being said, you're going to have a witness is going to testify, and you're going to have a prosecutor, then 3 sets of attorneys asking questions. So if there is a trial and it doesn't get severed, we're in for a long trial.
Mudd also told us there's a possibility that trial date could change as attorneys in this case file their own motions. Our digital team provided live minute-by-minute coverage of yesterday's court hearing. You can see all of it and stay up to date on this case by downloading the free WHAS 11 app. After a record-breaking year in 2023, the Muhammad Ali International Airport is looking ahead to an even busier one. Derby 150 and the PGA Championship are expected to have a major impact travel this year. Throughout the next year, the airport plans to expand the security checkpoint, enhance the ticketing area, and improve parking. Executive Director Dan Mann said this is in addition to the $126 million invested into the airport already last year.
It grows every year. Things get more expensive, but we're actually saying, hey, you know what? We got more capacity. We probably need to add a parking deck, $50 million for a parking deck. The FIS, $40 million. So there's a lot of stuff that we're looking at to make this, frankly, the best airport in the country. And so that's what we have in mind as we start investing in our facilities.
Last year, the airport saw more than 4.5 million travelers. This beat a record set back in 2019.